What if loving him meant losing 18 unborn lives, and still being told you were not enough? What if your devotion became your punishment, and your pain became his convenience? This is not just a love story, this is a confession carved in blood, silence, and rebirth. Stay till the end, because the final twist will shatter everything you believe about love and fate. Subscribe to this channel for unforgettable stories that hurt, heal, and haunt your soul long after the screen fades to black. I died the night I realized my 18th child would never breathe, lying alone on a cold hospital bed while the man I loved was holding another woman's hand, and as the ceiling lights blurred into darkness, I finally understood that my entire life had been a beautifully wrapped lie, because I had loved Lu Chen with a devotion so deep it erased my own existence, marrying him at 19 when he was poor, broken, and hunted by debt, selling my mother's wedding bangles to pay his tuition, eating plain rice so he could afford meat, enduring whispers that I was barren when the first miscarriage happened, then the second, then the third, each loss stealing a piece of my soul while he grew colder, more distant, more powerful, and yet I kept telling myself love was endurance, love was sacrifice, love was silence, until the doctors warned me after the 7th miscarriage that my body was failing, that my wound was scarred beyond healing, but Lu Chen only looked at me with tired eyes and said, "Try again," because his family needed an heir. And so I tried, again and again, bleeding through pregnancies I barely had time to name, smiling through family dinners while his mother burned incense and blamed my karma, holding his hand when he rose to fame, watching him become the youngest CEO in the city while I became a shadow that lived between hospital rooms and empty nurseries, and every time I lost a child, he would buy me a gift, a necklace, a ring, a dress, as if grief could be compensated, and I mistook guilt for love, mistook his rare tenderness for hope, until the 15th miscarriage when I overheard a conversation that changed everything, a doctor whispering that the medications I had been given were wrong, dangerous, almost deliberately harmful, and when I confronted Lu Chen, he brushed it aside, saying stress caused complications, telling me I was imagining things, and I believed him because loving him had trained me to doubt myself, but the truth crept in slowly, like poison, through overheard phone calls, missing prescriptions, a locked drawer I was never allowed to open, until one stormy night I found the files, medical reports altered, consent forms signed in my name but not in my handwriting, records stating my pregnancies were non-essential, and in that moment I realized I had not been unlucky, I had been sacrificed, because Lu Chen was in love with another woman long before he married me, a woman whose body was too fragile for childbirth, a woman whose status and family connections were essential to his empire, and I was merely the vessel, the disposable wife meant to bear children for him until a suitable heir could be secured elsewhere. But fate mocked him, because every child conceived in my womb was never meant to live, not because of destiny, but because he made sure they wouldn't, using me as a shield so his beloved could remain untouched by risk. And when I confronted him with the evidence during my 18th pregnancy, my body already failing, he did not deny it, he only said, "You knew I needed an heir," and something inside me finally broke, because I realized love had never lived in this marriage, only convenience. And when the miscarriage happened that night, when I hemorrhaged alone while he attended a banquet with her, I whispered an apology to the children whose names I never spoke aloud, and I died with regret heavier than my pain. But death was not the end, because when I opened my eyes again, I was 19, standing in the rain outside a registrar's office, Lu Chen calling my name with the same gentle smile that once fooled me, and in that moment I knew I had been given a second life, not to love better, but to choose differently, and I walked away, ignoring his confusion, ignoring the pull of familiarity, enrolling in medical school instead, driven by a rage so quiet it felt like clarity, building a life with my own hands, meeting Shen Yi years later, a trauma surgeon with tired eyes and a patient heart, a man who never rushed my silence, who never demanded my body prove my worth, who loved me without conditions, and when I married him, I did so without fear, without bleeding, without begging fate, and life rewarded me with something I never dared dream of. A healthy pregnancy, then another, children whose laughter filled the spaces where grief once lived, while across the city Lu Chen watched my life unravel his illusions, his empire cracking as scandals surfaced, his beloved abandoning him when his power faded, and the final twist came the day he stood outside my home, eyes hollow, realizing too late that the woman he destroyed had been the miracle he never deserved, watching me through the gate as I held my child, wearing a ring given not out of guilt, but love, And as I met his gaze, I felt no hatred, no triumph, only peace, because in this life, I did not bleed for him, I did not die for him, I let him live long enough to witness the happiness he stole from me bloom in another man's arms, and that was my quiet revenge, my emotional miracle, my rebirth.